sleepy village of Soham. Their parents never saw them again. They had been murdered by school caretaker Ian Huntley. This is a story of how, 10 years on, Holly Wells's mum and dad, Nicola and Kevin, have rebuilt their lives.
We have to have 4 bits each.
Now, here we go.
Helped to change police practice and battled with the unimaginable loss of their daughter, Holly. Their Soham Rose.
A message to Nicola. At no stage in my lifetime will I be able to give you what you desire the most, the chance to walk and talk again with Holly, and that hurts very much. Having witnessed your selfless devotion to 2 children for so many years, I know how deeply you felt and still feel the loss of your precious daughter, friend and soulmate every day. There is no loss quite like a mother's loss.
Honey. Come on, up this way.
Kevin, Nicola, Oliver and Holly Wells were a happy family that lived in a small, close-knit Cambridgeshire village called Soham. Oliver and Holly's childhood was as idyllic as any could hope for, raised in an area that was virtually crime-free, surrounded by their family and friends.
Happy birthday to you.
Well, of course, at 10 years of age and a very bright girl, Holly had us running around doing stuff for her all the time. She was so busy. Clubs, music, homework. That child loved homework. And we never really ever had to help her with homework, did we? She just sat down, did it, presented it. Then it was off to play the cornet, and then it was off to brownies. It was not with her.
You have lots of lovely memories, you know, seeing her perform, her majorettes in front and showing off really, and singing and dancing around the house. That was just Holly.
But on a sunny August weekend in 2002, everything changed.
We had a lovely day. It was a very mixed weather day. We had heavy showers. We were having a barbecue at ours, so our friends Rob and Trudy were round. And we just had a really relaxing Sunday afternoon.
It wasn't great weather, and I was pregnant at the time, so Holly found that quite interesting. And
me and Kev cooked the barbecue in the garage. It was absolutely poured. I remember that more than anything, really.
Holly's friend Chapman was also at the Wells family home that day. At 5:04 p.m, this photo was taken of the 2 girls. A short time later, they left the house and went for a walk.
And it was school holidays, and they were allowed to be out the front until 8:30. And then the alarm bells started to ring, didn't it?
Yes, I think it got even 9:15. You know, that's 15 minutes late.
Yeah.
It hadn't happened before. You know, Holly was meticulous in where she was and always kept to boundaries. So it was at that stage we quickly jumped on our bikes, that was myself and Oliver, and biked round the route that we knew Holly was allowed to walk round to go and see if we could see her, but nothing came from that search. So at that moment, that's when the alarm bells went.
Little 12-year-old Oliver also joined the search.
I went out by myself first on my bike to Nana's to tell her what had happened, then biked around certain areas around Soham, up the wreck, couldn't see nothing. I think I went out 3 or 4 times, but no luck anywhere. I did think, yeah, she's messing around with her friends. I thought just like a couple of hours later she'd just appear and get told off, but that'd be about it.
Police were called, and as darkness fell, family and friends flocked to the Wells' house to help in the frantic search for Holly and Jessica. Leslie, Nicola's sister, and her family lived just across the road.
They went down the commons and different places just looking. They did come back 2 or 3 times. It was a really foggy, thick fog, wet. I mean, it'd been a lovely warm day, but it was a really horrible evening.
Police helicopter was called off because it couldn't see through any the fog blanket. Our attempts to go around in vehicles were thwarted because we just really couldn't see, you know, a few metres in front of the cars. Torch lights across fields and outbuildings were virtually useless because, again, it was just a blanket of fog.
I remember they come back and changed the socks a couple of times because they were wet. The bottoms of the trousers were wet. And they stayed out all night, didn't come back again until the morning.
So we kept on and we shouted and we banged and made our presence felt, but obviously all to no avail.
Eventually the night gave way to dawn, but still there was no trace of Holly and Jessica. They had vanished.
Nicola and I try to rest a little and gather our thoughts. The stark reality is that Holly and Jessica are both still missing. Our frantic search has failed. I have failed to protect the daughter I love so much.
In amongst the frenzy of those first 24 hours, Kevin had a moment of clarity, and he began to write a detailed diary, chronicling his thoughts and his search for Holly.
I was working in the early hours of the morning because sleep was not on our agenda at that stage. I began to record, writing down facts, where we'd searched, little memories that were coming back. Could things be relevant to help with the police investigation? So that's how it started. I need to be as close to Holly as possible. I walk upstairs, shut myself in her bedroom, and lie on the bottom bunk. I start to sob. I feel the need to touch and smell Holly as best I can. The sobbing becomes so intense that at times I struggle to breathe. I slump to the floor and bury my head in Holly's quilt. I can't believe someone could hurt her, not Holly. She is simply too caring and friendly to upset anyone. How can any bastard hurt her? Those who could had taken time off work and we began our own searching because we just weren't prepared to sit at home.
He had to be doing something, didn't he, Therese, all the time. It wasn't the fact that if he wasn't doing something, he felt that he wasn't giving his best, you know, so...
There were moments of sheer exhaustion, but, you know, it's a desperate search for Holly.
2 days had now passed. Kevin and Nicola, along with hundreds of others, had relentlessly scoured the fields, lanes and houses in and around Soham, but there was no sign of the girls. So willing to try anything, Kevin and Nicola chose to go down a new path. They met with a local psychic, Dennis Mackenzie.
We were not privileged to any police information at that stage. No one knew anyway where the girls were. You know, it was an effort to try and be proactive in the search for Holly.
I know before I came along that they had no belief in the spiritual world in this way, but I never got the impression that they were desperate. It was just another avenue that they were trying to explore, any avenue that could give them some hope, mainly that Holly was still here.
Well, the first thing he told us was that both the girls were dead, so it wasn't a great moment, was it, you know, to hear. So that was tough. But after that, he came up with suggestions who might be involved and what he could see, descriptions and locations.
Although we didn't want to believe it straight away, 'cause he said straight away about the girls being dead, there's always that bit of hope that perhaps he was wrong, and then you're still not a believer because you didn't know until after all the events that he was correct. So it wasn't till afterwards that you suddenly thought, well, yeah, you were right.
It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, to sit and tell two parents that their daughter's been missing 2 days and is dead. And you feel horrid for doing it. But you have to be honest. You have to be truthful.
Although Dennis would continue to be someone they turned to in the days that followed, Kevin and Nicola could not believe Holly was dead and kept focused on the search for her. For Nicola's mum, Holly's nana, All she could do was wait.
You're like a machine, you're like just running on, I don't know what really, because you're not feeding, you're not drinking or doing anything.
You're just like on automatic pilot. You don't sleep, you don't eat, but somehow you just carry on. I don't know how, you just do.
It was pretty horrendous for all of us, really. I mean, all Soham were out looking for her.
You realise after 2 or 3 days that they're not just lost. I mean, they wouldn't get lost in Soham anyway. They know the way around. Then you start to think, well, maybe somebody's picked them up, maybe.
Deep down, you probably thought, this is not going to have a happy ending. I mean, the police prepare you and tell you all things that the first 48 hours are crucial.
The first week, you still had a bit of hope that they'd come home, you know, that
6 days into the hunt for Holly and Jessica, 2 little girls wearing Manchester United kits were seen again walking the streets of Soham. This time for a reconstruction, as police tried to jog memories and generate new leads. On the 16th of August, the stars of Manchester United Football Club, including the girls' hero David Beckham, appealed for their safe return.
Everyone around me wants their girls home, where they belong. Your help can make that happen.
The massive police manhunt had so far failed to find any trace of the girls. The entire nation held its breath as hope of finding Holly and Jessica alive was fading.
Rather than disturb a dozing Nicola, and as I'm still full of adrenaline, I cycle down to the church. I go in through the side vestry door and can't find any light switches. My next hour is spent alone in the darkness of St Andrew's. I pray. I pray out loud. I cry to God for help. I'll do anything to get my daughter back. My promises of unrealistic future commitments to God in exchange for the chance to see Holly alive and well again, they echo through the dark church. When the girls went missing, we had enormous numbers of police teams here, enormous numbers of media, but in amongst that were enormous local people who just took the time off work or changed their leisure time and wanted to be proactive and do something to help in the search. And that's the father of one of those girls, to see so many people. It was an amazing coming together.
But one man in Soham was starting to raise suspicion. Ian Huntley was the caretaker at the village college, Soham Secondary School. He lived on the school site with girlfriend Maxine Carr. Hours after Holly and Jessica had gone missing, Holly's tortured father had unknowingly stood face to face with the monster who took his daughter.
All I remember was picking Kev up and we went over from school actually, and that was probably about 4 o'clock in the morning.
We saw his caretaker's light on in his office, so obviously we went to bang his door, as it were.
We sort of went into the school, and that's been the first time I see Huntley, really.
Huntley told them that he hadn't seen the girls that evening, a story he would later change.
And you may, as it turned out, have been the last person to actually chat to them before they vanished.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
And it's a mystery.
Absolutely, yeah.
Solved.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, while there's no news, then there's still that glimmer of hope, and that's basically all we're all hanging on to.
I'd seen Huntley had come over and spoken to me when I was in the presence of the police at a press conference. They actually just rubbed me on the chest and shoulder and said signs of, "I'm sorry, I didn't realise it was your daughter."
Ian Huntley had an alibi for the night the girls went missing. It was given by his girlfriend Maxine Carr, who had been working as a teaching assistant in Holly and Jessica's class at the primary school.
It's what Holly gave me on the last day of term, and that's the kind of girl she was. She was just lovely, really lovely.
I didn't realise who she was weeks before Holly went missing. I was collecting Holly from majorettes, and she ran out and spotted Maxine Carr in the middle of the roundabout or grass area. And she went running over to her and gave her a cuddle and said, "Oh, Mum, Mum, this is Maxine, this is Maxine."
What would Maxine Carr say to Holly and Jessica?
Just get on a phone and just come home. Just come home.
Laura Starling was a close friend of both Holly and Jessica, and as their classmate, she knew Maxine Carr.
We were really friendly with Maxine Carr at school because obviously she was our helper, and I remember it like it was yesterday of how we used to get on, and because she used to talk about Ian Huntley a lot, so I actually bought him, I can remember it was a little pig and his head used to move. I bought him a birthday present, and that was the year that they went missing. This is just us at school. Mum made it for me, so it's all through the years. So Jess is up here and Holly is here next to me there. That was in 2001.
This is Holly, who's one of our dancers, and this is Laura, who's another one of our dancers.
This video of Laura and Holly was recorded just weeks before Holly went missing. On the 17th of August, 2002, after 13 days of desperate searches, the bodies of Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman were found. They'd been dumped in a waterlogged ditch near an American airbase 6 miles from Soham. The girls had been murdered.
We had a knock on the door, didn't we? Which was very unusual for the police to knock on the door. They'd normally ring to say they were on their way. So immediately we knew something wasn't right, didn't we?
We did. So yes, they turned up at our door and we immediately knew that we were about to hear the worst possible news. So that is what happened. We then obviously had family round.
Yeah.
And shared that news with them. And disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. Well, I think you're going to miss her the most, aren't you? Mums and girls and daughters, you know, everything's done together, isn't it? You know, the shopping trips, weekends, going down to the shops, the school. It's all mum and daughter. So I said at the beginning, there's no loss like that of a mother, and nothing I've seen over the last 10 years makes me change that viewpoint.
Nicola's sister Leslie had to break the news to her then 3-year-old daughter Emily that the cousin she loved so much was never coming home.
Those 2 weeks the girls were missing. Where's Holly? Is Holly coming over today? Can I play with Holly? You just had to say no, she's lost, because we didn't at that point know what had happened to her. And then obviously, once they'd found the girls, we said she'd gone to heaven, but she doesn't really understand that. You know, she doesn't understand they're dead and you're never going to see Holly again. So then you have to explain that in a bit more detail, but at the same time you don't want to say too much and frighten her. It was hard with her, and you should just ask a question a week or 2 later. Where's Holly today? It's almost like she's forgotten what you've said to her the week before.
Holly's nana also faced the unimaginable task of coming to terms with her death.
Well, you felt as if you'd been hit with a sledgehammer, really. You probably thought it was coming, but you're never prepared for anything like that. Even when you're out for a walk and that, and I see children being told off and squared up and dragged along, and I think, well, don't do that to them. Don't, just be careful. Just love them as much as you can for as long as you can. I'm still very bitter. I suppose I shall be bitter for the rest of my life.
Ian Huntley and Maxine Carr's stories had been discredited. Police found keys to a school outbuilt the couple's house, where they discovered the girls' burnt Manchester United kits. It was more than enough to arrest them. The caretaker with 2 counts of murder. His teaching assistant girlfriend, Maxine Carr, had provided him with an alibi and lied to the police. Following Holly and Jessica's deaths, there was an unprecedented outpouring of national grief and sympathy. Well-wishers came from across the country to sign a book of condolence and leave flowers at St Andrew's in Soham. As the nation grieved with them, Kevin and Nicola prepared to say a final farewell to their little girl.
It was a really tough day, a very tough day.
It was.
I think the build-up to that day was probably the actual day itself. We had lots of issues for that day in the organisation. The government wanted to get involved. They wanted to have it at St Paul's Cathedral. We even, for example, it was called a celebration of life service, and I wanted it to be called a remembrance service. I think if we argued over everything then, they were the most distressing at times anyway, weren't they? But we insisted on having it at Ely Cathedral so that our community could attend, the very people who searched for the girls. It went ahead and it was televised and the community turned out in their droves, and I thought it was a beautiful service, and everyone who played their role were just amazing. A poem for Holly, entitled Soham's Rose. Your right to grow, to mature and to play, so cruelly denied in a sinister way. Attentive and caring, a parent's delight, but so young at heart, needing comfort at night. The garden is quiet, the house is too, but pausing for a moment, we can still sense you. Our memories, now shared with the nation's hearts. Small crumbs of comfort, now it is time to part. We will never forget you. Heaven's gain, as it knows, is simply you, Holly, our beautiful Soham Rose.
Burial service, Holly was laid to rest in a private ceremony here in Soham Cemetery. It's a place the family regularly visit.
I think these flowers have had it, haven't they? We'll just sort of take a couple of those out, all of them. Shall we put a couple of roses in those as well, Nick, or not?
I think you should have one either side.
Yeah. Do you remember coming up here and digging this over, ready for this to be laid? It was that day that you decided to come out with lots of questions. You've been holding back for a long time.
Just me and you up here then?
Yeah, yeah. Okay? Yep, radio. Let's move on. I promise myself, whoever this person turns out to be, he will not take anything else away from my family. And stand strong for Nicola, for Oliver, and for other family members who feel the loss of Holly so acutely. We will not go under.
After the funerals, there was over a year to wait for the trial of Ian Huntley. Kevin and Nicola felt the need to escape the relentless media spotlight. They often came here to the gardens of a private house near their home in Soham.
When we lost Holly, this became somewhere where myself and Nicola used to come for some private walks. lovely quietness about it, certainly almost an element of secrecy, and it was really somewhere where we just chatted a few hours away, wasn't it?
And just escape from the...
Yeah, very much. Escape from the spotlight, totally.
Well, I think it's so big here that, you know, you're not going to bump into anybody really, and we just knew we could get away from the whole public bit really.
They began to come to terms with their loss. That first Christmas without Holly was horrendous.
I mean, I can remember it like yesterday. Nicola was emotionally distressed from first light to darkness. It was an awful day.
It was hard to start with. Mum used to get very upset. So I think Mum struggles a lot more on like birthdays and anniversaries of things, but Dad's always there, you know, to settle things down a little bit.
Definitely grieved differently, didn't we?
We did.
And I was in a much stronger emotional position. It was difficult,
Well, I dealt with it different. I went straight back to work, didn't I? Just not on a full-time basis, just to try and get some normality. And Oliver went straight back to school, didn't he? And I thought that was important at the time, just to try and keep everything a normal way of life, really.
On the 3rd of November 2003, Kevin and Nicola, alongside Jessica's family, arrived at the Old Bailey for the trial of Ian Huntley and Maxine Carr.
And I found it very difficult the first time I see him again.
Yeah, that was hard, just seeing him there, not far away from you.
There wasn't no emotion in him or nothing, and you know...
To make sure that he got convicted and got convicted properly was just everything. It just had to happen.
It was the
That was
be-all.
the only way, wasn't it?
The be-all
The
and
only
end-all.
way.
It really was. Going forwards without having a conviction for the murder of my daughter would have been absolutely disastrous.
During the 6-week trial, the support of the police family liaison team, headed up by Gary Goose, was a lifeline.
I knew what evidence we had, and I knew it was solid, and yeah, I was confident that we'd get a conviction.
We always had someone available, 24/7, who we could speak to, share our concerns with, ask dates, and we did. We battered them with requests for information right the way through that period.
They were long days, they were intensive days. There were ups and downs at court. He could have made admissions, he could have pleaded guilty and you know, avoided the family having to go through that, but he chose not to.
All right, Nick.
Yeah.
If I see it.
No one involved in the murder inquiry was left unaffected by it, and the bond between Gary and the family endures.
Well, I would go as far as to say that we remain as a family because of our family liaison officers.
I think so. They almost part of our family, didn't they? They were very caring people, considerate people.
Yeah, amazing.
It will always be part of what I've done in my professional life, and it had a huge effect upon me as an individual as well. But actually, if you don't give a bit of yourself, then build that trust. How do you build that empathy through people's darkest hours, really?
On the 17th of December 2003, Holly and Jessica's families were called into the court to hear the verdicts.
There is a pregnant pause before the charge of Holly's murder is read out. I stare down at my shoes, praying, loud and clear. Guilty. It has finally happened. Justice has been done. Nothing else matters now.
Maxine Carr was convicted of conspiring to pervert the course of justice, but cleared of assisting an offender. The man responsible for their daughter's death was in prison, serving a minimum term of 40 years. But during the investigation, it came to light that Ian Huntley was known to police for alleged sexual offences against young girls. Because different forces hadn't shared information, he was still able to get a job at the school.
I think I felt quite angry because nobody knew about it, did they? And
No.
there was no record keeping, obviously, that would show up.
It was pretty soul destroying, really. Lots of missed opportunities for him to be flagged up for the individual that he clearly was.
Massive flaws in the system had been highlighted by the case, so a brand new police national database was set up to allow police forces to share intelligence about offenders. Former Detective Sergeant Sue buffed mental in getting the new system off the ground.
This is a legacy from a tragedy where they lost their beautiful daughters, and it's an opportunity for them at least to get some comfort knowing that potentially this system could save lives, it could ensure that other children are protected.
Sue believes that the new computer system is the biggest change in police practice for a generation. For Kevin and Nicola, this provides a permanent positive legacy for Holly's murder.
One could argue that, you know, we lost our daughter because these records weren't transferable from inter-county to one. And obviously Ian Huntley moved from Lincolnshire through to Cambridgeshire, his records didn't follow. That's not going to happen again. So although one can never say never about anything in our lives here in this country, it's going to be so much more difficult, Sue, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a massive move forward for the police service. It brings the technology that the police service have into the 21st century.
With the police beginning to make changes, it was time for the family to look forward and move on with their lives.
The intensity of grief at the early stages were absolutely debilitating. But of course, Holly doesn't go away in our thoughts. The memories of Holly doesn't go away. But we had a 12-year-old son, Oliver, so our thoughts were with him right from the very early days.
Kevin and Nicola's focus moved to their son Oliver and how they could help him cope with the loss of his little sister Holly.
We talk about her all the time, so does Oliver. And what should we be doing now?
We do, yeah, we do. I mean, our house is not a shrine to Holly. She's part of our normal kind of portrait photographs. We just want it to be a normal house for a normal, loving environment that Ollie grew up in.
It's nice to say, oh, I wonder what Holly would be doing, what would she look like? But yeah, we do chat about her quite regularly, which I think is a very nice thing. Wish I could see her somehow, like what she'd look like now.
Well, we hope we've, you know, given him a positive household for him to carry on his normal life.
Yeah.
And he's had lots of friends around him, family, and we take him places, or used to take him places more now.
We're very busy with him, very busy with him.
And I think it's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Always be a little bit strange, like going around just the three of us, and everyone knows it used to be a fourth.
Oliver is now 22, and he's still very close to his parents. He works with his dad running the family window cleaning business.
It's been a great 6 years, actually, working together. I mean, what a privilege, isn't it, you know, to work with your son. On his 21st birthday, he business, so he's now got a real, genuine vested interest. He goes off and does half the work with the teams, and I do the other half. So it's nice for me to have someone I can know and trust to look after the business and look out for the issues that come along. Just need to get him up to spec and some kind of the right quality now, don't we, Oliver?
Yes, it is very nice being part of it. When I first started, the first year or two, I was working with Dad every day.
10 years on from losing his little sister, Oliver has just left home and moved in with girlfriend Lydia.
A good day at work?
Yeah, it was all right. Busy.
Busy. How many kids were there today?
Too many.
They live around the corner from Nicola and Kevin in Soham.
Your choice.
Well, we went on holiday, didn't we? We went to Florida in October. And I think when you spend 2 weeks together, it's going to be one or the other, isn't it? By the time you get to the end, you either never want to see each other again or you don't really want to go home.
It's a big change. It'll take a while to get used to, but we're slowly getting there. Yeah, we're getting into a routine now. We know what we're doing.
I'm doing all the cooking and Ollie sits bottom. When we first started seeing each other, we didn't really speak about it at all, because obviously you don't really know where it's going to go and you don't want to poke yourselves into someone else's personal background. But then when I first went to Ollie's house for dinner, that was when really, because I obviously they've got the pictures in the dining room and things, and the collage and pictures of Ollie and his sister together. So we did speak about it then. Special occasions, obviously Christmases and birthdays are difficult, as well as his mum and dad's birthdays, I think, because it's down to him, isn't it, to make sure that it's all as it should be. But it's been such a long time that I suppose he's just come to terms with it all, hasn't he, really? And they make the most of the way things are now, him and his parents.
What about our visit to the workshop this afternoon?
Yeah, we thought it'd be really nice if you met some of the families and see where the money's going to.
Yes.
Kevin and Nicola wanted to help other families who were struggling to cope with bereavement. So they joined forces with a charity called Grief Encounter, run by psychotherapist Shelley Gilbert, which works to support and counsel children and families dealing with grief. In the years since becoming involved with the charity, Kevin has taken part in lots of fundraising events. This year he wants to mark the 10th anniversary of Holly's death with his biggest challenge yet. He aims to raise £10,000 by running the London Marathon. His best friend Rob will be running with him.
Been friends many years since Holly was a baby, basically. They're lovely, aren't they? They've been friends for so many years. They'll always be our friends.
They're very strong people.
They're as strong as a couple,
You
and I think they've got each other through it.
You could give up. You could just say, well, you know, someone's done that to me, and a lot of people do that, don't they? They give up, but they've changed their way of looking at things, really, in the way to be focused, aren't they, Trude?
Yeah.
And I think I take my hat off to them because they're extremely focused. We like to have a laugh, like we all do, you know. We like to go out, have a few beers, have a drink, and have a laugh.
See you soon. See you, mate. See you soon, Mark. See you soon. Yeah.
Today the friends are at their local racecourse in Newmarket to collect contributions towards Kevin's marathon fundraising.
Oh yeah, well that's very, very kind. Very kind of you. This is all declared proper income, is it, from the revenue? Thank you very much. Lovely.
We've got a little bit with the bookies, and there's a nice check for you.
Lovely,
good luck on good luck on Sunday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
We'll double it if you beat the Rhino. I think we're safe.
I think you're very safe. Thanks very much. Good man. There you are. What about that? That's a nice gesture, isn't it? Really nice gesture. What a lovely gesture.
Fittingly, our friends Rob and Trudy stand by our side. They were our guests at the very beginning of this time of trouble, and they are here now at the end. Like many others, they have stood up, stood with us, and been counted, and we remain deeply touched. Never will value of true friendship in our lives.
As the 10-year anniversary looms, the loss of Holly is still felt keenly by her whole family.
No, Nana is as good as mine. She occasionally drinks white wine. So hard-working and tries her best. She's far better than the rest. She dusts all day and makes cupboards shine. I'm telling you, there's no Nana as good as mine. By Holly Wells. That one is Oliver and Holly, and this one is Oliver and Holly at Christmas. This is a note that we found in her books and everything, because she was always reading and writing and drawing and that. She's quite artistic and quite a clever little girl, really. Though I suppose I'm a little bit biased. She was wonderful. She'd do her dancing and all that. Just watch this routine, Nana, what I've made up and done. And the pieces of music, obviously, that she danced to, that just upset you all the time. And this is the last one I took over on the sports day. I've always had photographs. I used to have them as they were small babies, but I got so many I had to cut down on the amount we had about.
This is a box we decided to keep everything together, which was Ollie's old school stuff, Brownie stuff, Majorette's work, photographs, and all things we were sent by people as well, together. So, you know, if we wanted to reflect on times, then we could go sit and look in the box. We've got lots of Holly's schoolwork, and she did the maximum she could do. It wasn't just, if she was asked to do something, she'd do lots of detail. She was into her majorettes, and we've got all her battens in hair and her little dancing shoes and little Fenland majorette cushion.
Nicola was overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers who sent messages of sympathy and support.
I mean, it used to come in the lorry loads, and the whole family opening cards and letters and gifts. It was very touching, but it's very surreal, the whole thing. You're thinking, oh, how do they know? You don't realise how big it actually is. I know it was all on the TV and everything, but you don't actually think in your own mind that everybody out there's there for you and feel for you. And it couldn't have got any worse. Definitely couldn't. There's only, you know, you either sink or swim. It can go one way or the other, can't it? But it wasn't going to ruin my life totally. A big chunk of it has been taken away, but I'm not going down, I'm going up. So that's us.
Nicola's very close to her sister Leslie and gets comfort from doing lots of the things she used to do with Holly, with her niece Emily, who is now 13.
Summer trousers. I have another female relation in a niece, which is nice. And there's always been a comparison, does she look like Holly? Early days it was a little bit difficult, but obviously it's a very nice thing to have. No, Emily's good.
She's very close to Nicola, Emily is, very close, vice versa. Well, she can do all the girly things, takes Emily in the shops and helps her, and I leave them to it sometimes, it's quite nice.
Over here. Did you want to try this dress on over here, Leslie?
I don't know. No.
I guess you miss that closeness with a daughter, because I think daughters always go to their mums, don't they?
Yeah. Excellent. Yes.
When they've got a problem or they're unhappy or they're sad. I think she probably misses that.
Over the last decade, Kevin and Nicola have stayed in touch with the medium, Dennis Mackenzie, the man they turned to for help in the days after Holly first went missing.
Hello.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good to see you.
Dennis Mackenzie.
They have continued to get comfort from the connection they feel to Holly through his readings.
Good to see you.
Come on in. Come on in. Take a seat, please, up there.
Yeah.
Have you had any visits from Holly?
Yeah. She's here now.
Okay.
Yeah, she's ready.
Okay.
She's ready.
Right.
She's happy. And you're still working too hard, Joy. But she knows this goes. And she said she understands why you do it. She's so proud of what you've done, Dad.
Oh, bless her.
She's so proud of how you've managed, but she's more proud of what you've done. There's tears rolling for her as well now. But she's saying she's proud of what you've achieved since. She's saying my death's not been in vain. She doesn't spend quite as much time here now.
No.
And you'll realise that she's not spending as much time around now.
We don't feel it here.
No.
Virtually ever now.
She still pops in. She still visits. There's just so much love from her. She's fine. Let's just hope that the little time she comes through helps you.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we have to do, is hope it helps you.
To mark the 10th anniversary of Holly's death, Kevin and best friend Rob are taking on the huge challenge of running the London Marathon. They're aiming to raise a big sum for charity, and with so much money pledged, they have to finish. But Kevin has been plagued by injuries.
Clearly it's going to be quite emotional, I think. I am quite nervous now, yeah. Now we're here, and there's obviously such an immense scale of operation, isn't there? It kind of takes over a little bit, so yes, the nerves are definitely jingling a little bit now.
Very nervous, very nervous. Yes, I'm not sure why really. It's a bit emotional. And with all the injuries and everything else we've had over the last few weeks, it's going to be tough going for him, but he'll get over the line, whether he's crawling, walking, running. I'm sure he'll get there.
I'll push him as much as I can, but obviously if his injuries don't hold, I have to slow down. But
might end up piggybacking him.
I came to the signing in registration day yesterday at the Excel Centre, and there was a 101-year-old man on the stage who's running the marathon today. So I think I'm going to beat one person home. Yeah, thanks, mate. See you later, mate. See you later. See you soon. I'm really concerned. My injury list goes on and on and on. Hopefully we'll complete the course.
Kevin needs to keep his injury problems at bay if he has any chance of completing the grueling 26-mile course. All their families can do now is wait. Kevin and Rob have now been running for almost 5 hours. In spite of the injury problems, their determination has seen them through. They complete the 26.2-mile course in just over 5 hours.
That's lovely, it is, it's very nice, it's very emotional. Well, it's a nice achievement, you know. If anyone's thinking of doing it, you know, get that application in. It's a really uplifting experience. It's an amazing experience. Incredible crowd, yeah. Raising awareness and money for Grief Encounter, that's the key thing. So we'll get the final figures calculated and pop a cheque in the post. Have you organised a helicopter home?
Kevin exceeded his target and raised £14,000 for Grief Encounter. The money Kevin raised will go a long way to helping countless other families like these.
Their mother passed away in March. No, March is not a good month.
March is not good.
But we got through it.
Those key anniversary dates are tough. They really are.
Yes.
Some of these children have lost a parent, some a sibling. All have experienced the death of a loved one at a young age. 5-year-old Ben has recently lost his mum.
Hi, how are you?
These workshops bring children and families touched by tragedy together, encouraging them to talk about their grief and share their experiences.
You have to have 4 bits each. Is it 4, I think? Is it 4?
They make candles to represent the person they have lost.
Roll it up. Big ball.
We'll be doing all the GCSEs.
I think Daddy would like those colours. Red for Arsenal.
What I want you to do is think about that special person, and if everyone's got a wick, what we need to do is put the wick in the middle and squeeze it together so the wick's just standing out. Do you want to share who you've been thinking about?
My mummy
Your mummy. What happened to mummy?
died.
She died. A long time ago? It wasn't that long ago.
About 4 weeks.
About 4 weeks.
Well, today I'm writing my candle in memory of my dad and then my little brother. One of the best things that I could just go to sessions where other people they were in the same boat and they could understand a bit more how I was feeling, and I don't know, just really get through. So, yeah.
For myself, being with other adults, sharing experiences and sort of having a lot in common, a lot to relate to. And my children, being with other children, going through the same circumstances, situations. And it's really, really helped. Fantastic. It's been really good.
Encounter helped Kevin and Nicola to find a way through their own grieving process. And seeing how their work is helping others is moving.
I found it quite emotional, really, listening to other children talk about it.
Very emotional. And of course, death remains one of our taboo subjects still, doesn't it, in adult life and certainly in a child's life. So it's those tentative steps.
I think it was very important for us at the time, because obviously we had Oliver, who was 12. You know, it's important to keep them thinking about stuff and hopefully moving on and getting on, so that was a real positive.
This is a chance for children to be able to tell their stories from their own point of view. Some may say, well, you're upsetting the children, or they're worried about damaging the children. You can see for yourselves that's not how it is for children and young people. They want to talk about what's gone on. So 60 seconds to reflect and think about your special person.
For Kevin and Nicola, this part of their journey ends as it began, surrounded by friends and family. This time not for a summer barbecue, but for a celebration of marathon success and their continuing work to honour Holly's memory.
Yeah, okay.
I have the occasional bad day, I think, which is quite normal. There is a normal. But there's more good days than there are bad days.
Of course there are, yeah.
Lots more.
Yeah.
Goes by, doesn't it?
Mother, there's the London Marathon medal. There it is. Yeah, yeah. The intensity of loss, it does diminish. We don't forget Holly, we talk about her, we embrace her. We try to be positive. We are positive, and that's a fact.
Nothing's ever going to be normal, I suppose, is it?
No, it's a strange word.
But you learn to live with it. You have to cope. You have to move on. You never forget, but you have to go forwards.
We're lucky we still have a child. We have a young man moving forwards. Might even have grandchildren by the time this comes out, you never know. But you know, life continues. We hope that we've adjusted. We hope that our family have adjusted. We still see much sadness and sorrow, and we all accept it as being that price that we pay for someone that we love very deeply, because she was a very special girl. Every so often, despite our strong appearances and agreed positive outlook, we can't escape the sense of loss. Sometimes it rolls in as a gradual mist that makes for sad, reflective days. Sometimes it descends as a thick fog, a blanket of pain and confusion. We accept that these feelings will be with us for the rest of our lives.